The faint hum of fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. As Jason Carter, a tall, unassuming man in his early 40s, with neatly trimmed brown hair and wire-rimmed glasses, walked into the bustling office of Carter Tech Industries. Dressed in a plain gray hoodie and jeans, he carried a worn backpack slung over one shoulder, blending seamlessly with the crowd of interns and junior employees streaming through the glass doors. No one gave him a second glance. Jason wasn't just any visitor. He was the billion-dollar CEO of Carter Tech, a global tech giant known for its cutting-edge innovations and progressive workplace culture. But today he wasn't here to lead board meetings or review quarterly earnings. He was undercover, posing as a new intern to investigate troubling rumors circulating about one of his top executives, Karen Harris. Karen was a senior manager in the HR department, a polished woman in her late 50s with perfectly coiffed, blonde hair, designer suits, and an air of authority that commanded respect or fear, depending on who you asked. On paper, she was a model employee, efficient, detail-oriented, and fiercely loyal to the company. But whispers had reached Jason's ears. Rumors of discriminatory behavior, toxic remarks, and even allegations of blocking minority candidates from promotions under dubious pretenses. Jason had built Carter Tech on principles of inclusivity and fairness, and the thought of racism festering within his company made his blood boil. He couldn't confront Karen directly without evidence. Doing so could backfire and damage the company's reputation. So he devised a plan: go undercover, observe her actions firsthand, and expose the truth. As Jason settled into a cubicle near the HR department, he opened his laptop and pretended to review orientation materials. From this vantage point, he had a clear view of Karen's workspace, a meticulously organized desk adorned with motivational plaques and framed photos of her smiling family. She looked every bit the picture of professionalism, but Jason knew appearances could be deceiving. It didn't take long for Karen to reveal her true colors. Mid-morning, a young Latina employee named Maria approached Karen's desk, clutching a folder nervously. Maria was a rising star in the marketing department, known for her creativity and work ethic. Yet when she handed Karen her latest project proposal, Karen barely glanced at it before dismissing her with a curt wave. "This isn't up to standards," Karen said coldly, her lips curling into a patronizing smile. "Maybe stick to simpler tasks next time." Maria's face flushed with embarrassment, but she nodded silently and retreated to her desk. Jason watched the exchange, his jaw tightening beneath his neutral expression. Later that afternoon, Karen gathered her team for a meeting in the conference room. Jason lingered nearby, pretending to adjust his headphones while eavesdropping on their conversation. "We need to maintain a certain image around here," Karen announced, her tone clipped and authoritative. "Carter Tech is a prestigious company, not some charity case for diversity hires." Her words sent a chill down Jason's spine. Around the table, several employees shifted uncomfortably, avoiding eye contact. One brave soul, a young black analyst named Tyler, spoke up hesitantly. "With all due respect, Karen, shouldn't we focus on hiring the best talent regardless of background? That's what innovation is all about." Karen's gaze hardened, and she leaned forward slightly, her voice dripping with condescension. "Talent doesn't exist in a vacuum, Tyler. Experience matters. Connections matter. And let's be honest, not everyone comes from a position to compete at this level. The room fell silent, the weight of her insinuation hanging heavy in the air. Jason clenched his fists beneath the table, resisting the urge to storm in and confront her, then and there. But he reminded himself of his mission: gather proof, protect the vulnerable, and dismantle the toxicity poisoning his company. By the end of the day, Jason had collected enough material to build a case against Karen. But he also realized something far more unsettling. This wasn't just about one bad apple. It was about exposing the systemic biases that allowed people like Karen to thrive unchecked. And Jason was determined to rip those roots out, no matter the cost. The next morning, Jason arrived early at the office, his mind racing with strategies to gather more evidence against Karen. He knew he couldn't rely solely on overheard conversations. He needed concrete proof, emails, documents, or recorded interactions that would hold up under scrutiny. As he sipped coffee from a generic paper cup, he observed Karen's routine closely. Karen was meticulous about her schedule, starting each day by reviewing reports and responding to emails in her private office. Her door was often closed, but occasionally she'd leave it slightly ajar while taking calls, a habit Jason decided to exploit. That afternoon, as Karen stepped away from her desk to join a meeting, Jason seized the opportunity. Slipping into her office, he moved quickly but calmly, pulling out a small USB drive loaded with a custom script designed to extract key files without leaving a trace. His heart pounded as he inserted the device into her computer, glancing over his shoulder every few seconds. Within moments, the program copied flagged emails and internal memos onto the drive. Just as he heard footsteps approaching, Jason removed the USB and slipped it back into his pocket, returning to his cubicle before anyone noticed. Back at his desk, Jason reviewed the stolen data. What he found confirmed his worst fears. Among the files were discriminatory hiring guidelines Karen had drafted, explicitly favoring candidates from prestigious universities, a thinly veiled code for predominantly white institutions. There were also disparaging comments about minority employees labeled as not leadership material, along with notes dismissing complaints of bias as unfounded grievances. But the most damning piece of evidence came in the form of an email exchange between Karen and another executive. In it, Karen suggested restructuring certain departments to reduce reliance on diversity hires, arguing that their presence diluted the company's brand image. Jason felt a surge of anger mixed with resolve. This wasn't just toxic behavior. It was institutional sabotage, masked as professionalism. And now, armed with irrefutable proof, Jason could take action. However, exposing Karen wouldn't be enough. If he wanted lasting change, he needed to address the culture that allowed such attitudes to persist. To do that, he enlisted the help of two trusted allies, Maria and Tyler. Both had been victims of Karen's prejudice, and both were eager to contribute to dismantling the system that silenced them. That evening, after most employees had left the building, Jason met Maria and Tyler in an empty conference room. Dressed in his usual hoodie, he introduced himself, not as their intern colleague, but as Jason Carter, CEO of Carter Tech. Maria gasped, her eyes widening in disbelief. "Wait, you're Jason Carter?" "Yes," Jason replied, his tone calm but sincere. "And I need your help to fix what's broken here." He explained his undercover mission and shared the evidence he'd gathered. Maria and Tyler listened intently, their initial shock giving way to determination. Together, they devised a plan. Jason would confront Karen during an upcoming all-hands meeting, using her own words and actions to expose her misconduct publicly. Meanwhile, Maria and Tyler would rally support among other employees, ensuring that the message of accountability resonated throughout the company. The day of the all-hands meeting arrived, filling the auditorium with nervous energy. Employees filed in quietly, sensing that something significant was about to unfold. At the front of the room stood Jason, dressed not in his hoodie, but in a sharp navy suit that commanded authority. Beside him sat Karen, oblivious to the storm about to break. As Jason took the microphone, the room fell silent. He began by thanking everyone for their hard work and dedication, setting a positive tone before diving into the real purpose of the meeting. Carter Tech was founded on principles of innovation, inclusivity, and fairness, Jason said, his voice steady and clear. But recently, I've learned that these values haven't been upheld consistently across our organization. Today, we're going to address that head-on. Karen shifted uncomfortably in her seat, though she maintained her composed demeanor. She likely assumed this was another routine discussion about workplace ethics, nothing she couldn't handle. Jason continued, projecting slides onto the large screen behind him. The first slide displayed excerpts from Karen's discriminatory emails, followed by charts showing disparities in promotions and pay raises among minority employees. Gasps rippled through the audience as the truth unfolded. "This isn't speculation," Jason stated firmly. "These are facts, documented and undeniable, and they point directly to one individual who has abused her position of power." Karen's face turned pale as she realized what was happening. She shot Jason a venomous glare, her composure cracking. "How dare you?" she snapped, standing abruptly. "This is slander. I've dedicated years to this company. You've dedicated years to tearing it apart," Jason interrupted, his voice rising slightly, but remaining controlled. "Your actions have hurt countless employees and tarnished the trust we strive to build. You will be held accountable." Before Karen could respond, Maria and Tyler stood up, addressing the crowd. They recounted their personal experiences with Karen's prejudice, their voices trembling but resolute. Other employees joined in, sharing similar stories, until the room buzzed with collective outrage. By the end of the meeting, Karen's fate was sealed. Security escorted her out of the building, her once imposing presence reduced to a shadow of shame. In the weeks that followed, Carter Tech underwent a transformation, led by Jason, Maria, and Tyler. New policies were implemented to promote transparency and equity, including anonymous reporting channels for discrimination and mandatory bias training for all staff. Promotions and raises were re-evaluated to ensure fairness, and diverse voices were given platforms to shape the company's future. For Maria and Tyler, the experience was empowering. They became advocates for change, inspiring others to speak up against injustice. Jason, meanwhile, made it his mission to visit different branches of Carter Tech regularly, not as a distant CEO, but as a leader committed to understanding and uplifting his team. One evening, as Jason walked through the vibrant office, he paused to watch Maria mentoring a group of new interns. Her confidence radiated, a stark contrast to the hesitant woman he'd first encountered. Nearby, Tyler laughed with colleagues, his ideas finally being recognized and celebrated. Jason smiled, feeling a deep sense of pride. Exposing Karen hadn't just rooted out toxicity, it had ignited a movement toward genuine inclusivity. Sometimes, the hardest battles lead to the brightest futures. What corner of the world are you watching from? Drop your country below and tell us.